During the early migration period, when the Huns roamed the Europe and Western Roman Empire was dying, Slavic tribes began arriving and settling in the plains between Carpathian Mountains and the Baltic Sea. It was a time of great movement over Europe, and all those countless tribes across the continent were making homes for themselves and setting the stage for future unions, which will, ultimately, lead to the creation of nations which we know today. West Slavs settled across the fertile river valleys of the Vistula and Oder rivers, establishing small villages and tribal settlements. These early tribes were primarily agricultural, living off the land through farming and animal husbandry. They also developed fortified settlements known as gords, which became centers of tribal life and defense. Each tribe had its own leaders and local customs. They were largely pagan and organized into loose tribal confederations without centralized authority. Some of the more significant tribes were Polans, who were located in the Greater Poland region, around Gniezno and Poznan. Vistulans lived in Lesser Poland, around Kraków. Pomeranians, along the Baltic coast, and Mazovians, in the region around Warsaw, that later became Mazovia. These tribal groups engaged in intertribal warfare, as well as raids and skirmishes with neighbouring peoples like the Germans, Bohemians and Balts. The region was still developing politically and economically, and the tribes were largely isolated from the more organised and Christianised powers in Central and Western Europe, like the Holy Roman Empire and the Kingdom of Bohemia. The Polans were the most prominent tribe in what would become Greater Poland. By the mid-10th century, they began to dominate other tribes. This consolidation of power is attributed to the early Piast Dynasty leaders, Leszek and his son Siemomysł. They were grandfather and father, respectively, of the first historically known ruler of Poland and the founder of the Piast Dynasty, Mieszko I. The Piast Dynasty derives its name from the legendary figure Piast the Wheelwright, but historical details before Mieszko I are murky, as there are no reliable written sources about his predecessors. Siemomysł, Mieszko's father, likely expanded the Poland's control over neighbouring tribes and laid the groundwork for the future Polish state. Mieszko I became the leader of the Polans around 960 and was able to unite various tribes under his leadership and extend his control over much of what is now Poland. His most important political decision was the Christianization of Poland in 966, when he married Dobrawa, a Bohemian princess, and accepted baptism. This move aligned Poland with Western Europe, brought the Polish territories into the fold of Christendom, and was the beginning of Poland as a recognizable political entity in European history. Under his rule, Poland expanded to include important regions like Greater Poland, Silesia, and parts of Pomerania. Mieszko was succeeded by his son Bolesław I the Brave, who was crowned the first king of Poland in 1025. He was a warrior king who expanded Polish territories, including parts of Bohemia, Slovakia, and even Kiev at one point. He is remembered for consolidating the Polish state, strengthening the monarchy, and being a staunch defender of Christian Europe. In the 12th century, the state was divided into smaller, semi-independent duchies due to the fragmentation of the Piast dynasty. It all began with the last will and the testament of Bolesław III of Wrymouth, who ruled as the Duke of Poland from 1107 to 1138. To avoid civil wars among his sons after his death, Bolesław sought to divide his lands among them in a system of hereditary duchies while maintaining a central supreme authority in the form of a senior duke. His plan, however, didn't work. On the contrary, it led to civil wars. Each duchy became increasingly autonomous as the Piast rulers in these regions gained more independence, weakening the concept of a unified state. Over the next 2 centuries, the kingdom became a patchwork of competing Piast-ruled duchies. Each region or duchy functioned almost as an independent state, and the rulers of these duchies frequently fought with one another over territory and influence. As Poland was divided, it also became weaker in the face of foreign aggression. The Teutonic Knights, invited into Poland in 1226 by Duke Conrad of Mazovia, began to carve out their own state in the north, taking over large swathes of land. Additionally, Bohemia and Hungary grew stronger, and both sought influence over Poland during this period. The division of the country and frequent wars between the duchies hindered economic development. Trade routes were disrupted, and there was less opportunity for central planning or infrastructure development. Poland became more backward compared to Western Europe, where centralized monarchies were beginning to flourish. Then, at the beginning of the 14th century, came Władysław I, known as the Elbow-high or Władysław the Short. As Piast Dynasty member, he was the Duke of Kuyavia in central Poland, a relatively small region. His rival, Przemysl II, Duke of Greater Poland, briefly managed to unite Greater Poland and Lesser Poland and was crowned King of Poland in 1295. However, Przemysl II was assassinated in 1296, creating a power vacuum. Władysław initially succeeded in gaining control of Greater Poland, but he was soon driven out by the Bohemian king Wenceslaus II, who took advantage of the weakened Polish state and had himself crowned King of Poland in 1300. Władysław did not give up. After Wenceslaus II died in 1305, followed by the assassination of his son Wenceslaus III in 1306, Władysław seized the opportunity. The sudden collapse of Bohemian rule over Poland opened the door for Władysław to reclaim his lost territories. The most critical step toward reunification came when Władysław took control of Lesser Poland, centered on Kraków in 1306. Kraków had traditionally been the capital and political heart of the kingdom, and securing it gave Władysław a symbolic and strategic advantage. The local nobility in Lesser Poland initially opposed Władysław as they favoured a foreign king like Wenceslaus II, who would not threaten their privileges. However, Władysław worked tirelessly to win over the influential magnates, large landowners, and the Catholic Church, securing their support through political alliances and military success. He also had to deal with various Piast dukes who controlled other regions of Poland. He focused on defeating these rivals one by one. First, he negotiated and forged alliances with Piast dukes in Mazovia. Then, after several setbacks, Władysław ultimately regained control of Greater Poland, Poznan and Gniezno in 1314 after a rebellion against the local rulers. This was a significant step toward reunification, as Greater Poland was historically one of the most important regions of the kingdom. Władysław also faced a serious challenge from the Teutonic Order. The Teutonic Order was a Catholic military order founded in the late 12th century during the Crusades, originally to aid Christians in the Holy Land. Later, the order shifted its focus to northern and eastern Europe, where it established a powerful state in Prussia and played a key role in the Christianization of the Baltic region, often clashing with Poland and Lithuania over territorial expansion. In 1308, the Teutonic Knights seized Gdansk and the entire region of Pomerania, which Władysław had sought to control. This loss was a major blow to Polish territorial integrity. However, Władysław focused on stabilizing the rest of Poland rather than engaging in a prolonged war with the Teutonic Knights. He later took the conflict with the Teutonic Order to the papal court and to arbitration, setting the stage for future Polish kings to challenge the Knights' hold on northern Poland. To make good with the neighbours, he used diplomacy and arranged marriages. For instance, his daughter's marriage to Charles I, King of Hungary, helped gain Hungarian support and established stronger dynastic ties. He also sought and received the support of the Pope, which was crucial for his eventual coronation. The papacy recognized his legitimacy as the rightful king of Poland, weakening the claims of rival Piast dukes and foreign rulers. Then finally, his efforts culminated in 1320, when he was crowned King of Poland in the Wawel Cathedral in Krakow, the first coronation of a Polish king in Poland after decades of division. His coronation symbolized the reunification of the Polish kingdom, at least in part, and was the beginning of the centralization process. It was also significant because it represented the end of the foreign occupation of the Polish throne. He was the first native Piast king to be crowned after the Bohemian king's reign, making his claim to the throne even stronger. He was the rightful ruler of a united Poland. After his coronation, Władysław faced new challenges from external enemies. The Bohemian king, John of Luxembourg, sought the Polish crown and claimed Silesia. By 1335, much of Silesia had fallen under Bohemian control. Władysław also had to fight the Teutonic Order in the war over the occupation of Pomerania. He was unable to reclaim the region. His son Casimir the Great finished the job of making Poland a powerful and united kingdom. Poland prospered during his reign. Early in his reign, he had to deal with the Teutonic Order, which controlled Pomerania after his father's unsuccessful wars. Casimir thought continuing the war would be too expensive and the results uncertain, so he negotiated. In 1343, the two parties signed the Treaty of Calice. While he had to recognize the Teutonic Order's control over Pomerania, he regained peacefully other Polish territories like Kujawia and Dobrzyn. Casimir also inherited the claim of the Bohemian kings to the Polish throne. To resolve this issue, he signed the Treaty of Trenčín in 1335. This time, he renounced his claims to Silesia, which had been lost to Bohemia anyway. This led to peace with John of Bohemia, and now Casimir could focus on other areas of expansion. He reorganized Polish army and marched east. When he was done, the kingdom's size had doubled. One of Casimir's most significant achievements was codifying Polish law, which unified and standardized laws across the kingdom. He promoted the growth of towns and cities across Poland by granting Magdeburg law to many settlements. This allowed towns to have greater autonomy, establish self-governance, and boost trade and craftsmanship. During his reign, numerous castles and fortifications across Poland were built. Casimir was a supporter of the peasant population, and he implemented policies that promoted agriculture and improved farming techniques. In 1334, he confirmed and extended privileges to the Jewish community. This policy made Poland a haven for Jewish people fleeing persecution from Western Europe, laying the foundation for the large Jewish population in Poland in later centuries. One of Casimir's lasting legacies was his founding of Krakow University in 1364. It was the second university in Central Europe after Prague. Under Casimir's reign, Poland saw a growth in architecture and the arts. Gothic architecture flourished, with many churches and public buildings constructed during this time. He was loved among the peasants and lower classes, and is the only Polish king with the title Great. He had no legitimate male heirs, and thus the Piast Dynasty rule ended with him, and although Poland faced a period of uncertainty after him, Casimir's reforms left it a more unified and resilient kingdom, a distinct political entity among European states.